Matt, two guys I'm going to meet for the first time tomorrow in Nashville, Dylan Raiola and Ryan Puglisi. Take us back to the first time you saw those two guys throw, and what was your thoughts? Because really and truthfully, at the time that both of my guests came to campus, that it wasn't like Arch Manning or Trevor Lawrence. They didn't have that early buzz, but obviously both of them threw in front of you guys and got offered. What do you remember about those two guys when they threw specifically for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with Dylan and Rusty. I know I've told you the story, but with
Mhm.
Dylan, it all starts with Sean Chappis. Sean Chappis played fullback at Georgia, lives in Athens, works in development, so fundraising, and Sean was really good friends with Matt Stafford, really good friends with Dominic Raiola from his days with the Lions. And Sean called me. He's like, "Hey, he's like one of my former teammates' sons is he wants to camp. What's the information? How much does it cost? What's a good day? Yada yada." And he's like, "I don't really know much about him. I don't know if he's any good, but just basically make sure that they have a good time." So I'm like, "Okay, that sounds good." So sure enough, I Googled Dylan Raiola's name. I can't find any film. I can't even find how big he is. There's not much out there on him because at that point there just wasn't there wasn't much film or anything. So I remember going to Buster Faulkner, who's our lead QC on offense. I was like, "Hey, there's this kid. He's going to throw with you all tomorrow. Let me know how it goes." And I remember on our prospect sheets, you have a CKS section, and where we would put like a meeting or a handshake or something like that. And Dylan Raiola, his first time, didn't have a meeting or a handshake because I mean he was a relative unknown.
Oh boy.
And he throws. I didn't see him throw a single ball that first time because when Kirby's walking around at camp, we're watching O-line, D-line, and DBs. That's kind of where we gravitated towards, or excuse me, I should say that's where he gravitated towards, and that's where I followed him to. Yeah, I remember after the workout, Buster came up to me. He's like, "Hey, that kid can really throw it." I was like, "Oh yeah, man." I was like, that's a good thing. He's like, "No. I mean," I was like, "He can throw it." I was like, "Oh." And
Yeah.
Buster was obviously someone that had a lot of credibility in the building, and they ended up coming back a week later, and from then on, it was game on. And that was summer 2021. And after that second time that they came on campus, it was full bore, all in. This guy is the real deal. And it was very apparent from that camp workout, and it was also the kind of person that Dylan was, this kind of person his dad was, his mom was, his entire family. We got to know them, we got to build a great relationship, and obviously he committed to Ohio State at one point, and he ended up back with Georgia. But they're just great people. He's a great kid. He's determined. He understands what the quarterback position is about. So I went a little bit long on Dylan. With Ryan, Ryan was a relative unknown. I think it was spring 2022. Coach Monken went up to see him throw in Connecticut, went to a practice, and you could just see just the arm talent, just the ball just jumped off his hand. And after that, we didn't offer him, but we started recruiting him pretty seriously, and we got him to camp last summer, June 2022. And just seeing him throw in person, my reaction was, this guy's going to get someone hurt. The ball just pops off his hand in a way that I've only seen it come off of Caleb Williams' hand. I mean, we had Caleb Williams in camp. I guess that was summer 2019, and Ryan has that kind of arm talent where the ball just jumps off his hand. He's got a compact delivery. He's a good baseball player, which usually those baseball players, their delivery is a little bit longer. But Ryan's got a really compact delivery, and I mean, just straight. I mean, he can throw it. And from that workout, we knew he was a guy that we wanted to recruit, and we knew there was a good chance we were going to need two in that 2024 cycle. So obviously we knew of Dylan. Dylan was someone we've been on for a long time, but Ryan really came into that picture, and it was like, this is a guy that we have to recruit. We don't have a choice. So
Well, I mean, obviously the question now becomes who's going to win this job when those guys are on here. I'm not going to do that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I mean, no. But listen, I am curious. The differences between the two. I mean, just objectively. From a build standpoint, from a throwing standpoint. I mean, I would assume there's some probably direct comparisons that can be made between the two guys in terms of what they bring to the table. And like I said, I've said this on this podcast. I've said it on the Georgia show. I think, Dylan Raiola is the number one player in America, and that carries a lot of weight. Ryan Puglisi, I don't think, is very concerned about where Dylan Raiola is ranked.
No, and that's the thing about both of them is they're really competitive. They both really love football. I think I heard Drew Brees say that, the quarterback position is 75, 80% mental. It's the intangibles, it's the makeup. And I think that's what you have in both those guys. And that's probably the biggest similarity is they're not afraid of each other and they're not afraid of competition. And ultimately they want to win. And I think that's why they both ultimately committed to Georgia. There's a great opportunity for quarterbacks to come in. You have really good players around you. You have a great coaching staff. You have a pro-style offense. There's a lot of positives, and they both want to win and they both want to compete. And, on the pure football side, they're both 6'2 plus. They both have, good frames, and they both have elite arm talent. Elite arm talent is something you cannot teach. And it's one of those things. I do think arm strength can improve. I think we've seen that with Carson Beck just in his time at Georgia. But, at the end of the day, every guy has a certain level of arm talent, and, it can get a little bit better here and there. But the guys that have elite arm talent, they stand out, and that's what both these guys have. So I'm really excited to see what they do in their careers. And I think, Georgia fans have a lot to be excited about.